A pleasant evening to our online viewers, to the listening women out there. It is my joy and privilege to be with you. So tonight, God brought me here to tell you about my story. I am Rebekah. I grew up near Haran, a city in Mesopotamia. Many would tell me I am beautiful, and I thank the Lord for that. My family was prosperous enough to have many servants, but I was not coddled or treated like a princess. I was raised to work hard. Like so many women of those times, I had some heavy chores to do, including fetching water for the family. Early in the evening, I would hoist vessel onto my shoulder and lead off to the spring. One evening, after I filled my jar, an elderly man ran up to meet me and he said, "Please give me a little sip of water from your jar." It was such a modest request and so politely made. I could see that the man had traveled far. So I quickly swung my water jar from my shoulder and let the man drink. Not mere sip, but a real drink of the fresh, cool water. I saw he had a train of 10 camels kneeling nearby that the trough had not yet filled to water them. Did you know that a camel, a thirsty camel, would consume 25 gallons of water? But I was willing, even eager to work hard, as I need to show hospitality to the elderly stranger. I noticed the elderly man's gaze. There was nothing improper in his look. It suggested amazement, wonderment, and joy. When I was done at last, he gave me these gifts, precious jewelry. When he asked, "Please tell me, whose daughter are you? Is there any room at your father's house for us to spend the night?" When I told him about my family, his joy intensified, perhaps in a rush of enthusiasm. So I ran off ahead of him to tell my mother and found out that the elderly man was the servant of Abraham. He was Eliezer, my grandfather's brother. Weeks earlier, Eliezer had raised that very issue that Abraham asking Eliezer to find a wife for Isaac from Haran, not in Canaan, because Canaanites either respected nor worshiped Jehovah God. So Eliezer was so enthusiastic about the success of his mission that on the following morning, he asked if he could return to Canaan with me. What? With me? Immediately? My father, however, wanted me to remain for at least 10 days, but they resolved the matter this way by calling me. There was a great crossroads in my life. What would I say? Would I play on the sympathy of my father and brother Laban, pleading for the release from this journey into the unknown? I revealed how I felt. about this sudden, perhaps daunting change in my life. And there was a still small voice arose my desire to simply say, I will go. As I look around over the rugged landscape, as the shadows lengthened after weeks of travel, I was finally getting used to the swaying gait of the camel. As I sat perched high atop his back, my childhood home in Haran was far behind me. The day came as the caravan traversed the Negev and twilight began to fall over the land. I saw a man walking in the field. He looked thoughtful, contemplative. So I quickly got down from the camel and asked my guide Eliezer, who is that man there walking in the field to meet us? And I learned it was Isaac. I covered my head with shawl as a sign of respect to my future husband. And from a distance, there was love at first sight. And we're happily married. For many years, we were unable to have children. So I was again confused because God had told me that I would be a mother of thousands, of 10,000s. So Isaac prayed with me and God heard our prayer. I became pregnant when Isaac was 60 years old and I was nearly 40 years old. During my pregnancy, I felt a struggle within my womb and I was concerned about it. But God told me, 2 nations are in your womb. This was a straightforward answer from God. And it influenced the whole course of my life. I gave birth to twins, Esau and Jacob. As the boys grew, the differences between the two became apparent. Esau was a skillful hunter and became his father's favorite, while Jacob was quiet, intellectual, and became my favorite. When Isaac became old and near death, he wanted to transfer his blessings to Esau. But I remembered what God had told me, that the elder would serve the younger. So instead of praying God's intervention, I devised a plan to deceive my husband so that Jacob would receive his father's blessing. Then I realized that God was using me. My marriage to Isaac was the result of God's wisdom. And my pregnancy was an answer to a prayer. The lives of my 2 sons fulfilled God's prophecy. And my choice to lie and deceive my husband is an example of how wrongdoing by Christians will not hinder God's agenda and how his will prevails despite our sinfulness. So in my story, I hope that you will learn lessons from my journey with my God, which is also the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, and your God, now and forever. So thank you for listening. And once again, This is Rebekah. Wherever God wants me to go, I will go.